Sony Pictures is officially done. They are done trying to do their own Spider-Man, they're done trying to do Venom, they're done trying to do No, Kraven, Madam Web, Hypno Hustler, whatever. They're done. They're done. They don't want none of it. They realized it's a failure. So now they're just gonna focus on other things, including Spider-Man. So Sony's Spider-Man plans were interesting to say the least. In case you guys missed it, I did a video talking about how the Venomverse, I think that's what we settled as the name of it is called, or the Spunk, how those plans are over. They've been laid to rest. That's no longer happening. This is sort of like a part 2 to that video. So they kind of go hand in hand. I would suggest you watch part 1 if you didn't watch it to get the full, understanding of the bigger picture here. But in this video, we're focusing on Sony's Spider-Man plans. So as most of you know, their film plans are not really happening, as I talked about in that video, but there are other film plans that still are. For example, the Spider-Verse films, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse is still happening, and per reports and per Sony, they're still looking to do spin-offs based on those films. One focusing on the Spider-Woman, the other one focusing on just Spider-Gwen possibly, and who knows when and if those will happen. But we also know that they're working on an animated Venom feature film that will also allegedly be part of this universe or the greater multiverse. So that's probably still happening. Now, of course, on the TV side of things, Silk was canceled, but Spider-Noir is still happening, starring Nicolas Cage. And that's the next big project from Sony Television because they're wrapping up on their flagship series, The Boys, for Amazon. So next up, well, we'll see what happens with Spider-Man and Spider-Noir. So now let's talk about what their future plans potentially were, what they might have been, and how, at one point, The Amazing Spider-Man could have been back. So as most of you know, Sony was in a desperate position after they agreed to work with Marvel Studios. They still had the rights and they could do their own Spider-Man. We know that there was discussions to bring Tom Holland in every developmental stage of every Venom film. It just didn't happen. Multiple times they had actual concept art done and it was written in the script, but ultimately cooler heads prevailed and it didn't happen. Enter the Madam Web fiasco, the Morbius fiasco, where they hint at Spider-Man, but ultimately all of that is cut out, and well, none of it makes sense. But per multiple reports we've gotten over the last couple of years, at one point, the bigger idea was to reveal that this was all set in the Amazing Spider-Man universe, and after Andrew Garfield settled his differences and problems with Sony, due to Marvel Studios bringing him back for Spider-Man No Way Home, that the bigger picture was going to be to reveal him somewhere in either the second or third Venom film, and ultimately set up an Amazing Spider-Man 3 that included Venom, Morbius, Madam Web, all of these characters sort of converging under one roof in Sony's universe. Now, it's quite obvious why this didn't happen, because there would be a lot of problems with it, for one. Two, Andrew Garfield stated multiple times he doesn't just want to return and do a random thing. He wants to make sure that the script, first and foremost, is good. And he himself even said he didn't like what they did with The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is part of the reason of why he left. He hates that film. But also he stated that studio politics were a major problem and a reason for him leaving. Everything just kind of came crashing down and he understood how the machine worked. And he himself said it. These films were made not out of love, but out of the necessity to hang on to things. And the whole reason that they would have done a crossover that features Amazing Spider-Man, Venom, Morbius, Kraven, all of them, would have been because they're chasing the money again. That would have been The Amazing Spider-Man 2 2.0, because the whole reason that film exists the way it does is because they were chasing the Marvel Studios trend of a shared universe. Because if you remember, when The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was coming out, The Amazing Spider-Man 3 and 4 were announced with release dates, Venom was announced, a Sinister Six film was announced, and 2 other spin-offs were confirmed in development by 2019. They would have put out 6 films by themselves in a span of 3 years. Ultimately, didn't work, it all came crashing down, and now the big question is, what is Sony's future with Spider-Man? Well, that's an interesting one, because their future is not going to include Spider-Man, because it's going to include Spider-Men. Okay, so let's tackle these plans. So Sony's future Spider-Man plans are to not use Spider-Man, but to use Spider-Men. Essentially, they will avoid Peter Parker like the plague, but they got any other Spider-Man ever at their disposal. Spider-Man Noir is a go, and they believe they're going to have multiple seasons. And again, I don't see why not. Sony's TV output has been far superior to their film output. So we know that they are for a fact working on another spin-off. We just don't know what it is in terms of live action. It could be anything. We also know that the Venom R-rated animated series, film series, is in development. We know there's multiple spin-offs from Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, and per reports, Beyond the Spider-Verse is ending the trilogy, but there might be plans in motion to do more. So, in essence, their Spider-Man plans are over, but the Spider-Man plans that are over were the plans that were in motion where they were trying to take MCU's Peter Parker, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and shoehorn him into a bunch of films he didn't belong in. Their new plans are going to be to try to streamline things, try not to push things unorganically, which is exactly what they would have been doing, and to just focus on Spider-Man going forward as maybe not their biggest key character, but a character who they know has the ability to tell different stories. We know that there's been discussions for years about Spider-Man 2099. And for some reason, Sony and WB are both playing stupid, seeing who's going to be the first one to announce Spider-Man 2099 or Batman Beyond, so the other one panics, scrambles, and does the other one out of desperation, because both studios are dumb. But the prime opportunity is right there, especially with Beyond the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse and everything in between that 2099 has been appearing in and is or going to, or his comics and everything like that. So I think you're looking at a Spider-Man future that we're going to find out about in the next couple of years that's going to be vastly different, more streamlined, and this time, more thought out, which is an absolutely insane accomplishment for Sony. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.